Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for being here. Sunday, August 17th, your Jacksonville Jaguars, in a dramatic finish against the New Orleans Saints, tied. They tied in the preseason 17-17 after having a commanding lead earlier in the game. The Jaguars' backups fell to the Saints' backups late in the game, and it was pretty wild. You had late Spencer Rattler throws an interception. Kenny H. Lovely, who was just signed by the Jaguars not very long ago due to injuries at the cornerback position, makes a play on the ball, gets an interception, has a nice return. Jaguars are set up very nicely, but then you see the Jags kind of fall apart. And they even had an opportunity to go down and get a Cam Little kick. After the Saints, have their drive and Danico Slaughter just keeps getting targeted and not being able to make the play. The Jags still get the ball with 21 seconds left and 3 timeouts, and Cam Little, the ultimate weapon, to try to, win the football game. It's tied 17-17, and all you got to do is make a field goal in the game, and Hennigan comes out. And, what a horrible position the Jaguars put Hennigan in. Like, he didn't play the whole game, and then that's the spot you throw him in. And comes out, gets a dime down the field to Quentin Morris, who has been a late game hero for the Jaguars the last couple of weeks. Quentin Morris, good for him, right? You get down into Cam Little field goal range, and then you still have timeouts. I understand wanting to potentially get a little bit closer. My thought process, though, was like, you got 9 seconds on the clock. You got your timeouts. Kneel it. Get it into a spot where you feel good. Call the timeout. Couple seconds left on the clock. Nail the field goal. Go home. Game over. If you really wanted to get closer, you can run the ball. Again, you have the timeouts. Run the ball if you want to get a little closer. Throwing it makes no sense in that situation, especially with a quarterback who hasn't played all game. So, you needed to throw, right, to get into the field goal range. Once you're in field goal range, you don't need to throw anymore. So, we talked about it this week with James Gladstone talking about how they made some mistakes in week 1, but they kind of want to be situational masters, and he thought that they did a good job of that overall in week 1. There was some good things here as well. And you got to keep the main thing the main thing. The Jaguars starters did the job today, and we're going to get into all that. But to me, that was not situational mastery at the end of the game, throwing that football when you're already in field goal range and there's no time left. You can very easily just kneel it or run it, call the timeout, kick the field goal, get out of there, right? So that's where I'm at with that. But again, that's a learning moment, certainly for the coaching staff, in my opinion, and the players that were trying to execute that. Most of them, maybe all of them, aren't even going to be on this 53-man roster, so it's not a real big deal. But I do think that was not situational mastery. Now, let's dive into this football game. The Jaguars starters got 2 drives on both sides. You had no Tyson Campbell, no De'Ami Brown, no Travis Hunter, no Caleb Ransaw, no Buster Brown, no Jalen McLeod, no Chuma Edoga, no Dennis Gardeck, no Cole Van Lannon, no Anton Harrison, no Eric Armstead, no Mason Smith. Lot of Jaguars injured and on the mend. Most of those are not serious issues, although Caleb Ransaw is still week to week. Buster Brown is out for training camp. Jalen McLeod week to week. Cole Van Lannon out for training camp. Everybody else, seems like maybe, I don't really know with Eric Armstead. Nobody seems to know. But other than that, it's not like anything serious. Daniel Thomas did limp off after one play, but he came back in. Joshua Cephas had to get looked at by the trainers. He came back in as well. I don't think the Jaguars are exiting this game with anything serious, but I will obviously keep y'all updated on that. So getting into drive 1 for the Jaguars offense, Trevor delivered a pretty good throw to Brian Thomas Jr. down the field on his first throw of the game, but it was a drop. Was it a perfect throw? No. But it was a drop. It was a little low. It was Brian Thomas Jr., maybe around a little bit above his knees. It wasn't like a low ball that was like a ball into the dirt, right? Like Brian Thomas Jr.'s got to catch that. Trevor Lawrence can throw a little bit better ball. Okay, so you move on. Second throw. It was 3rd and 8. He stepped up in the pocket, evaded pressure, looked really comfortable, and delivered to Brenton Strange. And that became a theme on the day. And it just feels like that's kind of a nice outlet over the middle of the field as Trevor Lawrence works through his reads to get back to Brenton Strange. I think that that's definitely something that is you're seeing that throughout the offseason into training camp into the preseason here. Delivered to Brian Thomas Jr. on a play that could have gone bad. Looked like he was supposed to hit Tank on the other side of the field or something like that. Not exactly sure. Hopefully we can get an answer on that one from the coaching staff or Trevor or whatever. Not a big deal though. But instead of having a broken play go wrong, it ended up being fine, and he was able to get a couple yards there. And then again, hit Brenton Strange on 3rd down and short, got the first down. Tank Bigsby actually had a catch and run on this drive, which was really good to see. Caught the football and, kept kind of juking defenders, kept going. He was like almost all the way on the left side of the field, kept getting over to the right and gaining ground as he was doing it, kept juking guys and planting and going, and he looked really good on that. So that was good to see from Tank. And then you have the Trevor gets stepped on, his left foot got stepped on by Ezra Cleveland's right foot, and then he's tripping and falling to the ground and trying to hand the ball to Tank Bigsby. It was an unforced error by Ezra Cleveland. Hopefully you would hope that Trevor could not fumble the ball in that situation or not lose the ball, whatever it may be. Overall, it's just something that needs to cleaned up. You can't have that in that situation in the red zone after a really strong starting drive. That's how you end it. And a lot of folks are like, same old Jaguars. But overall, it was an impressive drive, and you can't have it end that way, but it is what it is. So then you get drive 1 from the defense. You start out, Trayvon Walker has a really nice run stuff. The Saints did end up getting a first down on a short completion. It wasn't like wide open or anything like that. Just a nice little short play from the Saints passing game to be able to get first down. But then Dewey Winger got a sack. Trayvon and Smoot had a beautifully executed game up front where Trayvon stunts inside and Smoot loops back around. The timing of it was really strong, really well coordinated there. And that forced an intentional grounding by rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck, who didn't really look prepared to face the Jaguars defense, starting defense in this one. Pretty tough situation overall for him, but that was a good defensive drive. Really good stuff overall. You saw, in my opinion, Anthony Campanile coming up with some nice games, nice blitzes. Again, the Dewey sack was really easy. Good start for the Jaguars defense, who needed a good start. And look, the Saints maybe going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. They are probably, but the Jaguars, they can't control who they are going against. What they can control is the controllables, the execution. Overall, the Jaguars starting defense did a very good job in that regard. And then on drive number 2, the offense, instead of letting a mistake snowball, they came out and they had a really good second drive. Good start on a short completion to a wide open Travis Etienne, who was actually able to pick up like 8 yards. That was a nice start. Getting to 2nd and 2, Etienne had a really nice run up the middle where he broke several tackles at the 2nd, 3rd level. But to get there, it was wide open rushing lane by the Jaguars offensive line. That was good to see. Fred Johnson, he got beat bad on the inside on the next play, next Trevor Lawrence throw, but Lawrence got rid of the ball to Parker Washington for a first down. Had another short completion to Brian Thomas Jr., which was good to see. Etienne had a short run to get it on 3rd and 3 and was able to get that 3 yards. I think that was a type of play or situation where the Jaguars probably running the ball on 3rd and 3. I think they're like, well, we're going to go for it on 4th down if we don't get it, but let's go ahead and run it and see if we can get it. And we did. So they like to see that. You had a really nice run blocking play. Brenton Strange kind of pulling into the middle of the line of scrimmage and taking on an incoming second level defender and doing a good job. And it bounced Etienne got sprung Etienne for a nice little run. You see Trevor Lawrence doing a good job in the sack avoidance. And again, pocket presence, pocket maneuvering, and then he throws a touchdown to Parker Washington. Parker caught it a little short of the goal line, a few yards short of the goal line, pivoted back inside, and was able to dive into the end zone for a touchdown. Great to see that from Parker Washington and from the entire Jaguars starting offense. They got 2 drives. They moved the ball at will, basically. And overall, the Jaguars starting offense has done a good job these first 2 weeks. There's been a little bit too many unforced errors. Again, you have the stepping on your quarterback's foot, Trevor Lawrence then fumbling it. And last week, you had penalties and things of that nature. This week, you had a drop and the stepping on the quarterback's foot. Continue to clean it up, continue to work to improve on these things. But overall, definitely a step in the right direction for the Jaguars offense. And I think the Jaguars offense is in a pretty good place. Drive 2 for the defense. You had Ventrell Miller one-on-one with Rashid Shaheed, which is not a matchup you want to see in coverage if you're the Jaguars. Tried to go for a diving pass breakup, and Rashid Shaheed caught it for a nice little play. But then you had Ventrell on the next play having a nice run stuff, and good coverage by Jordan Lewis down the field on 3rd down, forced a punt for the Saints, and that was it for your Jaguars starters. I think, again, you can't control your opponent. What you can control is how you handle yourself against that opponent, and I think the Jaguars thoroughly dominated the Saints. The score should have been more lopsided early. We cannot forget that. You can't have that turnover. And I'm not placing blame on Trevor. Obviously, Cleveland can't step on the foot. We'll hear what the team has to say about it, but that's an unforced error. The defense did nothing to you to force you to make that mistake, and it ended up costing you probably 7 points. So they should have scored more, but again, I think they're moving in the right direction. I think they're being coached the right way. I think they feel good about this, and it's a stepping stone. The Jaguars, they don't have a regular season game next week. They have a regular season game in like 3 weeks, and I think that they're making progress towards being ready for that regular season game. Some notes from this one. Again, I thought the Jaguars starting offense moved the ball really well. Just can't have those unforced errors. It felt fairly clean from the starters overall on both sides for the Jaguars, even without Travis Hunter, even without Tyson Campbell, De'Ami Brown. A lot of mistakes by the backups, however, in this one. I think that there was, penalties and again, missed assignments by the backups on both sides of the ball. I thought the 2 backup quarterbacks who got a lot of time didn't do a great job. Now, Nick Mullins, to his credit, he had a strong finish, a strong close to the first half. But after that, his interception was really, really pretty horrible. It absolutely was unacceptable. And then you also saw, John Wolford threw a turnover-worthy throw, and then at the end of the game, Hennigan threw an interception where kind of forced the ball into a spot where Chandler Brayboy couldn't come up with it. The defender had really tight coverage on that short little slant. So the backup quarterbacks didn't do a good enough job, in my opinion. I think that's a storyline that continues. I would have liked to seen more Seth Hennigan in this game. I don't know why you didn't, but it is what it is. What you can say, though, is the starting quarterback for the Jaguars, he has had a strong preseason. He was 6 for 7 last week. He was 8 for 10 this week, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, was given the fumble, but is that really his fault after being stepped on? You want him to be able to hold on to the football, but it is what it is. I thought that the run blocking and pass pro overall was strong. There was a few moments here and there where it wasn't perfect, but winning type of football from the offensive line. Although Jonah Monheim did have 1 penalty for a false start, I thought he played really well, especially at center. I really like his future prospect for the Jaguars at center. I don't know why. The Saints had their starters out there a long time. Every time Chris Olave was getting hit, I was nervous for him worried about his concussions, but I know y'all don't really care about that. Devin Lloyd, as a note, did stay out there with the backups for a bit. That's something to pay attention to. I thought Parker Washington continued to play well. He had a nice return along with his touchdown. Hunter Long had a great catch from Nick Mullins down the field. Mullins kind of threaded that needle. I don't know how he did it, but he did. And Hunter Long came up with a really good catch. Bashal Tutin scored another touchdown, second straight week with a touchdown for him. It wasn't like a super explosive day for Bashal Tutin, very workmanlike, but you did see another play from Tutin where it looked like the defenders had him stopped and he was able to keep churning those legs. And then you get another couple offensive guys on your side pushing behind you and you're able to, get some extra yardage. I think that that's really cool to see from Tutin, and it's becoming a theme that he can find the end zone close to the end zone and that he can keep turning those legs along with his unbelievable breakaway speed that he has once you get him in the open field. Lee Quint Allen had a beautiful hurdle to get a first down. That was really nice to see from him. I did, these notes aren't kind of in order at the end here, but I did want to shout out Anthony Campanile. He had a good game, in my opinion, coaching. The nice blitz on third down led to a sack by Smoot. Again, you had the game up front that was perfectly executed earlier on with Smoot and Walker. You had the Dewey sack. You had a lot of, a little bit more designery things that looked a lot better in this game from the defense. Cam Little didn't get that opportunity to kick the field goal late in the game, but he did get the 53-yarder late in the first half. So that was good situational football. At the end of the game, I didn't think it was good situational football. I did see Rayon Lane have a coverage tackle, and that's one of the big things he's here for is special teams. Bowman had a really bad drop, backup tight end who's not going to make the roster, but he had a really bad drop. Shout out to Kenny H. Lovely again. Gave the Jaguars a chance there at the end to close it out, but they couldn't get it done, and it ends up in a tie 17-17. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. We will continue to break this game down in more detail as we move forward over the next couple days. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.